Professor Poppy's workshop wasn't like other places. It was a magical realm where imagination and creativity knew no bounds. Every corner of the workshop was filled with surprises and wonders that could make anyone's eyes widen with amazement. It was full of strange and wonderful things. From the ceiling hung peculiar contraptions that whirred and clicked, while the floor was scattered with blueprints of fantastical designs. Whirring gears spun on the walls, creating a symphony of mechanical music that filled the air. Each gear was meticulously crafted, and they all worked together in perfect harmony. Beakers bubbled with colorful liquids, each one a different hue, creating a rainbow of possibilities. The liquids inside them seemed to dance and shimmer, as if they were alive with potential. A robot dog chased its tail in the corner, its metallic bark echoing through the room. This playful creation was one of Professor Poppy's favorites, always ready to bring a smile to anyone's face. It was the perfect place for an inventor. The workshop was a sanctuary for creativity, where ideas could be brought to life with a twist of a wrench or a splash of color. And Professor Poppy was a very special inventor. Her mind was a treasure trove of innovative ideas, and her hands were skilled at turning those ideas into reality.
Children often visited her workshop, their giggles filling the air as they marveled at her creations. They loved to see what new wonders Professor Poppy had come up with.
Professor Poppy had a twinkle in her eye and a spring in her step. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and it was impossible not to feel inspired in her presence. She loved to invent things that made people smile. Her creations were not just functional. They were designed to bring joy and laughter to everyone who encountered them. She made a hat that grew flowers and shoes that squeaked out tunes. These whimsical inventions were a testament to her playful spirit and her desire to make the world a happier place. But today was different. Today, Professor Poppy was making something extra special. She had been working on a secret project, one that promised to be her most extraordinary invention yet. The anticipation in the workshop was palpable, and everyone was eager to see what she would unveil.
Humming a tune,
Professor Poppy hummed a happy tune as she worked. She poured glowing goo into a big pot. She sprinkled in some rainbow sprinkles. Then, she added a pinch of something that made her pet parrot Fritz cough.
Careful there, Poppy. That tickles my feathers.
giggles. Almost done, Fritz. This is going to be my most amazing invention yet.
She stirred the pot with a giant spoon. The gooey mixture turned a bright bubblegum pink. It smelled like strawberries and sunshine. Just then, the doorbell rang.
That must be Benny.
Benny was a curious boy who lived down the street. He loved visiting Professor Poppy's workshop. It was always an adventure.
What have you invented today, Professor Poppy?
I've created something extraordinary. I call it Super Duper Magic Bubblegum.
Professor Poppy held up a big, pink, gooey blob. It shimmered and sparkled in the light.
This isn't ordinary bubblegum, Benny. This bubblegum gives you a different power with every chew.
Wow!
Benny's jaw dropped. He couldn't wait to try it. Benny carefully took the super duper magic bubblegum. He popped it into his mouth and took a big chew. Suddenly, his feet lifted off the ground.
Whoa!
He was flying! Benny giggled, soaring through the air like a playful bird.
Section 5, The Great Bubble Trouble. Get ready for an adventure like no other.
Benny chewed again. He loved the taste of the super duper magic bubblegum. It was sweet, tangy, and had a hint of mystery that made every chew exciting.
This time, his arms turned into giant feathery wings. They were colorful and majestic, like those of a mythical creature.
He flapped his wings excitedly, soaring around the workshop. The feeling of flying was exhilarating, and Benny couldn't help but laugh with joy.
Look at you go, Benny. You're flying like a pro.
Fritz the parrot watched with amusement. He had seen many magical things in his time, but Benny's transformations were always a delight.
Ha ha ha! This is amazing! I feel like a superhero! Benny exclaimed, his voice filled with excitement and wonder.
Benny laughed, feeling like a superhero. The wings made him feel powerful and free, like he could conquer any challenge that came his way. Benny took another chew of the super-duper magic bubblegum. He wondered what magical transformation would happen next. This time, something unexpected happened. Benny felt a strange sensation in his cheeks. His cheeks began to puff out. They grew larger and larger, making Benny look like a chipmunk storing nuts for the winter. A giant, shimmering bubblegum bubble emerged from his mouth. It was iridescent and sparkled in the light, mesmerizing everyone who saw it. It grew bigger and bigger, filling the entire workshop. The bubble expanded until it touched the ceiling and walls, creating a magical, colorful spectacle. Benny and his friends couldn't stop laughing. The workshop was now a bubble wonderland, and they were having the time of their lives. Benny wondered what other surprises the super-duper magic bubblegum had in store. Each chew was a new adventure, and he couldn't wait to see what would happen next. As the day came to an end, Benny and his friends waved goodbye to the magical workshop, eager for their next bubble-filled adventure. Professor Poppy and Fritz watched in amazement as the bubble grew larger and larger. It was even bigger than the robot dog.
That's one big bubble, Benny.
Shouted Professor Poppy over the rumbling sound of the expanding bubble. But Benny couldn't hear her. He was trapped inside the giant bubble. Suddenly, the bubble detached from Benny's mouth and floated upwards, carrying Benny, Professor Poppy, and even Fritz the parrot with it. They bumped against the ceiling, then squeezed through the open window, floating out into the bright blue sky.
Up, up, and away we go.
Soaring above the trees and houses, what a sight.
Wow, we're floating past fluffy white clouds and giggling birds? I've never been this high before.
Don't worry, Benny. I'm sure I have something in my pockets to help us. Aha! I knew I had my trusty bubble shrinking solution somewhere. Here we go. Just a few drops of the bubble shrinking solution.
It's working! The bubble is shrinking!
Deflating like a balloon, we're coming down gently.
They landed with a soft thud back in the middle of the workshop. Benny, Professor Poppy, and even Fritz were covered in sticky pink bubblegum residue. But they were safe, and that's all that mattered.
Well, that was an adventure.
Can we do it again tomorrow?
Perhaps not tomorrow, Benny, but there are always more adventures to be had.
Next time, try the grape flavor.
Everyone laughed. Professor Poppy put on the kettle for tea and biscuits. It was good to be back in the workshop, even if it was a little stickier than usual. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the workshop, the air was filled with a sense of anticipation. The golden hues of the sunset painted the walls in a warm glow, making the entire place look almost magical. It was a time of day that always seemed to inspire creativity and wonder. Professor Poppy knew that this was only the beginning. With a determined look in her eyes, she gazed at the countless blueprints and sketches scattered across her desk. Each one represented a new idea, a new possibility, and a new adventure waiting to unfold. Her mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, each more exciting than the last. There were so many more inventions to invent, each one more fantastical than the last. From flying bicycles to talking toasters, the possibilities were endless. The workshop was a treasure trove of tools and materials, each one holding the potential to bring her wildest ideas to life. Her team of quirky characters was always ready to brainstorm and bring these inventions to fruition. So many more adventures to be had, each one promising new discoveries and experiences. Whether it was exploring uncharted territories or embarking on a quest to find a rare ingredient for their latest invention, the thrill of the unknown kept them going. Every day was a new chapter in their never-ending story, and so many more laughs to share with her friends. The bond they shared was unbreakable, forged through countless hours of collaboration and fun. Their laughter echoed through the workshop, a constant reminder of the joy they found in each other's company. No matter how challenging the task, they always found a way to make it enjoyable. And who knows what other surprises the super-duper Magic Bubblegum had in store? This mysterious and magical object had already brought so much excitement into their lives, and there was no telling what it would do next. Its glowing, sparkly appearance was a constant source of fascination and wonder. One thing was for sure: life was never boring in Professor Poppy's wacky workshop. The place was always buzzing with activity, filled with the sounds of clinking tools and whirring gadgets. It was a hub of creativity and innovation, where the impossible became possible, and the ordinary became extraordinary. And they couldn't wait to see what amazing and hilarious things would happen next. The sense of anticipation was palpable, as everyone eagerly awaited the next big idea or unexpected twist. Their excitement was contagious, spreading like wildfire through the workshop. The end? Or is it just the beginning? With so many possibilities on the horizon, it was hard to say. One thing was certain: the adventures of Professor Poppy and her friends were far from over. The future was bright, and they were ready to embrace it with open arms and curious minds.